business on display. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display. I got winners on the way. You know you can't knock the hustle. And if you gotta get in place, then we gon' put your business on display. Grab a seat with Neesha for a minute. And if you got the goods, we can talk about your business. She know what it's like to make a move independently. And I don't fake us like that. We been trusting God like that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We are here. Welcome, everybody to Neesha's Network Wednesday. I am my own producer today, so it's all good. So I have my very special guest, front, center, and present, none other than my own biological brother, Dr. Stephen Crawford. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, how's it going, Neesha? Great to be here.
All right. So I am super excited about everything because of the fact that I'm grateful because I'm excited about his new book, Too Stupid to Fail. We're just going to dive right in, you guys, because one of the things that I appreciate is the fact that Stephen is a motivator. He's a person that won't quit. He's a pusher, and he's going to make sure that he does not fail. So, how present and how perfect is the title of his book. And the reason I say that is because he is my mentor, my leadership coach, the person who I really believe God has called for this time and this season to push you to a great place in the year of 2022. And if you are not hooked up with him, his business, his ministry, or purchase this book on Amazon, you need to do that today. You can ask questions today, but I'm going to let him just give a personal, rather than being the best part of him. One of the best parts is being my brother. No, I'm just kidding. But tell us a little bit about his family, where he lives, and then we'll get started on talking about this Too Stupid to Fail.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Neesha. Well, I have been in Minnesota now just a few years shy of 3 decades where I've actually lived here. I moved here for college and kind of got stuck. And so it's just really, really exciting to have really been able to observe life from different levels. I believe that it's good to really be rooted in where you're from, but sometimes when you get to go to different places, so I've got to travel internationally, it gives you different lenses and different perspectives on life and on how things develop. And I know that my appreciation for my family and for kind of my origin story and my genesis has a lot to do with the fact that I've been able to see it from different levels and different lenses. And so I live here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Right now, my office is here in St. Louis Park and Minnesota. And we live probably about 30 minutes north of here. It snowed today, so I got the privilege of going home twice because I left my bag at home, had to go back and pick it up. And it's through all the snow and trudgery. My beautiful wife, Tiffany, is at home taking care of one sick child and one child that is taking advantage of the other one being sick. So Caleb, who's the youngest, he is 7 years old, gymnast, and Chloe is a gymnast as well. So we live here in Minneapolis, and we're having fun, just really enjoying the winter, hoping for warmer times.
Okay, warmer times. Well, speaking of warmer times, I want to talk about how, people's setup and studio is so important in their office. And, I try to make a warm and welcoming environment. But I want to talk about your background for a minute. That airplane. What made you choose that, besides your wife being an amazing interior decorator? But I want to know what made you choose that for your background, for your pictures. Very nice.
Well, one of the things, and I love doing what we do, being able to help businesses out all the time. We actually have as kind of our emblem of successful business is the airplane. We use it as an analogy. And so when you look at an airplane, the cockpit, when you look at that, that's what we call the leadership of the airplane. You look at the wings that are your products and services. The right engine we call your marketing. The left engine we call your sales. We look at your cash flow, which is the fuel that gets your airplane going. So we really have been able to, working with the Business Made Simple business model and the Experienced Leadership operating system, really been able to establish that if we can isolate and identify what part of the organization is struggling, we can begin to repair and fix and kind of advance. And so that's one of the things that we love getting to do, is really be able to figure things out. But as anybody who knows us and works with us understands, we take the brain into account. So sometimes having a framework in order to place things in that makes things easy. In psychology, they call it there's a scotoma, or an emptiness. And so we like to fill the gap with a picture or an image that be able to fill that, so that people can use that as a background in order to move towards successful business building.
Well, we know that airplanes soar, so that's a great background. And pretty much, we'll talk about the SOAR blueprint coming up this Friday. But let's just go right into it. As many people know, my family is huge, and one in particular, Stephen, wears many titles, and so I could give him many titles, but his most recent title is now author. Of course, with his dissertation, that makes you an author, but you're a second-time author. But actually, his published profound thoughts are in this book right here. But I wanted to ask you, so give us your specific title in terms of like your entrepreneurship, your business. What are your titles that you hold? If people say, you know what, who is Stephen Crawford? You can tell me who that is.
Well, they say chief servant, I think, is hopefully the way we get to
Chief servant. I like that. Yeah.
To live our lives. We're looking to be able to add value. So when we're working in corporate development, business training, we work with a lot of nonprofits, a lot of ministries. Our focus is really, really to serve leaders, to get them to operate at their best level. And as they're operating at their best level, they're able to restructure or reorganize their organization. We believe that every organization is designed to get the results it gets. And so whatever results you're getting, whether you're a $100,000 company or a $100 billion company, you're designed that way. And if you want to change your results, ultimately you have to change your design. And it starts with the leader. And we work with leaders in order to help figure that out, to kind of help them achieve their results. And so, there's a lot of different hats, but, ultimately, I'm the one with the towel, just trying to make sure that we're serving as best we can everybody, to make everybody, helping them advance forward.
Wow, that's a great title, chief servant. In order to change your results of your organization, you have to change your design. And so let's go ahead and talk about that. I want to talk about that. Like, my mind is like racing 1,000 miles a minute right now because of all the questions I have. Some related to the book, some related to leadership and changing the structure and the trajectory of your business. But we're going to talk about the book right now, because Too Stupid to Fail. Now, first of all, when we were growing up, Stephen was always in a corner somewhere, not to be found, with a book. Let me just say that. He was always somewhere, and normally the book was the Bible. So let me just say his first title is really a pastor, because he is a preacher in his own right. I mean, well gifted in the word and anointed and all that jazz. But moved into leadership and coaching and different things like that. I never thought of you as too stupid to fail. Too stupid. I never thought of you stupid. So give us, what was the inspiration behind the title of this book, Too Stupid to Fail? And it's really a great title, but come on and give it to us.
Yeah. Well, I think the subtitle probably hopefully clarifies to people really quickly, is why the resilient will always beat the intelligent. Because IQ, I think, has value, but really when you look at IQ, and the French teacher who came up with our whole system of intellectual quotient was really, really designing something, because he was believing that certain people learn different ways. And Howard Gardner, in his book, Multiple Intelligences, came out and said there's more than one way to learn. And the problem with the way we do things is we just have a way to do things. So most people don't realize this, but the curriculum developers, the people that design curriculum in school, represent only 4% of the population. That means they're only teaching to really, really a very minority type of learner. And so most people grow up with an understanding, with the identity that if they can't achieve certain things academically or mathematically or scientifically, they're not gifted in language arts, or they're not gifted with athletic intelligence or some type of musical ability. There's all these intelligences that people have. And what most people do is we begin to compare ourselves of what we don't have. So the person who can sing well but feels stupid because they're not mathematically intelligent, or they don't have scientific or logical thinking or philosophical acumen. And so we kind of limit ourselves with all these limitations that kind of build on us over time by comparing ourselves to other. And I think that for me, I got to a point where I'll just be honest. When I went through high school, I felt smart as a kid, but when I went through high school, I got a different message about my intelligence. It was questioned. The color of my skin causes teachers to really say, you've got to really prove yourself that you're not smart. I think in my early years, it was like I was supported. Again, my mother really did a great job at getting us to think critically. I don't know if it was a methodology, but she is an educator by trade. And so she would ask questions that would kind of get us to do a lot of critical thinking. And so I think that I grew up that way. But then once you go to high school and you're lumped in with thousands of other students, the assumption that you're not that smart is really easy to pick up on. And it's not verbally said, probably. I did have one teacher that said it, mentioned him in the book. But other people that question your intelligence by the way they talk to you, when they slow down to talk, all those things kind of shape this image and this understanding. And so I actually went to college because I was told I had to if I was going to leave the state. And so I was planning on going to college for a year and then dropping out because my goal was to preach. And I don't think you needed a degree to preach. As a matter of fact, it might slow you down because many of the preachers I knew in Chicago didn't have degrees. And so that was kind of my thinking at the time. And so, but something happened in college called student loans that kept me going back and re-enrolling every time I tried to drop out. And so ultimately, I got a master's degree, and I'm sitting here with a master's degree. I was working at a nonprofit, urban leadership, and I had flown down to Costa Rica to learn Spanish because I was really trying to capture the ability to be multilingual in a world of urban reality in the United States, which requires.
And you did it well. You did that well. You did that well.
Yeah. So I stayed in school, but something happened probably when I came back. I was in the second year of my doctoral program, and I honestly signed up for a doctorate program because I got a free scholarship for that. So I was learning at a high level, but I was looking around at the people that I looked at as successful.
Yeah.
And most of them were either never finished high school, went to high school, did some college, maybe barely skated through college, but their success wasn't rooted in what they were learning. And I said, here I am working on a terminal degree, and I couldn't find what I defined as success. And I was really struggling. And I said, and I really started to put the pattern. I'm a pattern guy. So I started to put the pattern together. When I began to look at everybody that I saw as successful, none of them were rooted in education. I said, well, what is it rooted in? They literally have become too stupid to fail. They literally put a shield over their mind, and they didn't respond to people's microaggressions. People are going to tell you you're not smart enough. People are going to tell you you're not good enough. People are going to tell you all types of messages, whether verbally or through microaggressions or just different ways of acceptance. They're going to push you to conform to their way of doing things. And so what ultimately happens when people are doing that, most of us, we agree with them. Not consciously. We're probably not aware of it. We probably don't like them. We probably say negative things about them. But somewhere deep down, when people begin to question our ability to achieve the things we're trying to achieve, or to become what we call super achievers, when people question that, when they call us arrogant, you don't want to do that, and they want to begin to talk you down. And many times the people that do that the most are family members or friends or people close to us. They try to pull us down, and we accept their opinion as our reality. And by doing that, it is what we pick up on is actually a part of our intelligence that picks up on those micro messaging that actually forces us into to take less than we deserve. And to be honest with you, we do listen to those messages, but they also create something much deeper. They also create this inner critic or this internal dialogue that we have for ourselves. And they begin to challenge us and insult us and condemn us and criticize us. And the voice inside our own head tends to be more powerful and more potent than all the other voices combined. And so our self-limitation, we create these invisible boundaries that we live within because we've accepted what other people have said is our reality. And literally, to break through those invisible boundaries, to break through all of that junk that gets inserted in our head, we literally have to ignore it. We literally have to become too stupid to grab that information and actually digest it, process it. We have to reject it outright and begin to move forward. So that was really, really the thinking behind Too Stupid to Fail. It's like, how do we ignore the stuff or the information that we received, and rather than intelligently applying those negative messages to our lives, how do we reject those and become too stupid to fail? That's kind of that's the long and short of it.
That is a lot of information, and you're talking so fast. I mean, if you have pen and paper, you all should probably take notes. I'm sure there'll be some more things coming up where you'll be able to dive into Too Stupid to Fail. But one of the things that I'm thinking about, which jogged my memory, because I want to talk about a few points in the book, but was how would you address a parent who is sending their child off to college and they're about to take out tons of student loans? They didn't get a scholarship, but the parent sees the value that's inside of them, but they don't know, or they hear that little voice that tells them, that they don't have it, what it takes. And then they've spent 4 years in college. And I was thinking about you talking about this and how much debt you went into to be surrounded by people that were determined to be too stupid to fail, that didn't even have the same credentials that you had, or probably the debt that you had incurred by trying to make sure you met the qualifications of what society says. I mean, how would you encourage a parent to gear their young child or their teenager going off to college before they waste time with going into an area where, because they don't think they're good enough, so they're going to force their way to do this because I want to measure up?
Yeah, and this is probably one of the most controversial things that I think that our society has done. We've reframed education from being able to read, repeat, and remember versus really to draw out of. The word education comes from the Latin word educe, which means to pull out, to draw out. And what school is really the most effectively is supposed to do is to draw learning out of students rather than to try to put it in. But we're measuring the way we measure intelligence, the way we measure schooling. And so my advice would be, understand where you're going before you attach yourself to so much debt. Yes, you could probably go to a junior college.
So would you say that every parent needs to sit their child with a coach? I mean, you have the school counselor, right? But what would you recommend? What would be that know where you're headed? Because most people don't know where they're headed, especially at that age. So how could they develop that? And I think this is important because it really speaks to the next generation of what needs to happen. Because you were how old when you came to the recognition of getting your doctorate degree that you're surrounded by people without college education?
I think I was 27 years old. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I was about 27 years old, 28 years old. And so I think that the challenge is that parents, we've got to figure out how to talk to our children. And I'm not saying that it's easy as having a 12-year-old on the way to 13 this year. And it's not easy because they're being conditioned to become allergic to our voice. And there's a societal pressure that wants them to do that. But we've got to hear not just their own voices, but we've got to hear the voices in their own head. So I like the idea of a leap year. That year that they don't go to school, where they actually get to do some type of professional work in order to get ready for school. I like the idea of that. I like that break year in between. I don't think they should get too much time off, but there should be some type of break where they're able to define better, where they're passions, their skills, and their capacity begins to align in order to move them forward. So I'm in favor of those types of things. Before you jump into debt, before you're pushed into all of these courses, have a direction. And so I think, yes, I think parents offering their kids a coach that can help them direct them and choose a direction. I think that being able to understand the negative messaging that's happening in the mind of children, I think that's helpful as well. And to be understanding that, listen, no person doesn't have that fight, that internal fight.
Everybody has it.
Everyone has it. And so it's a part of our brain. And we talk a lot about the brain in the book. You know, I as a neuroencoding specialist, we talk a lot about the brain. We educate people on the brain. But what you have to understand is that your brain is built for survival. And survival, you being able to survive, requires you to be hyper vigilant against threats within the environment. And as the Bible says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. What your brain does is it filters out information into three categories. Most of us live our lives kind of in downtime. We're not even paying attention to. We drive to work. We don't even remember how we got there.
That's very true.
We're run upon automatic programming, and
That's
so
true.
the three things that takes us out of automatic program is that which is beautiful or novel. It wakes us up and says, "Oh, that's nice." That which is familiar. Oh, I have that car, or oh, I got the same purse. You know, that wakes us up. And that which is dangerous or disturbing or disgusting, that which is a threat to us. And so those are kind of those three elements that kind of wake us up. And so what most people do is they wake up by messaging, and it's more visceral, it's more powerful messages that tell them they're not good enough, that they're not going to measure up, that they can't do this or they can't do that. So that's a part of the internal dialogue of every human being as a part of our hardwiring that's meant to keep us safe and protect us. So what we've got to do is we've got to equip them which gives us much more the emotional fortitude, the mental strength, and the actual strength within our activity to move us forward. And that's why the book is broken up into those three different sections: the battle of the head, the heart, and the hands. Is because there's got to be something we do to safeguard our thinking. There's got to be something we do to empower our emotions. And there's 3 chapters on that, and something we have to do to actually take action and become a more, rather than having a passive life, but to take a more active approach to the way we live our lives.
So it's like 12:30 now, you guys, and I haven't even tapped the iceberg, but we're talking with my brother, Dr. Stephen Crawford, with his newly released book, published book that is available on Amazon, Too Stupid to Fail. And you all, the subtitle is Why the Resilient Will Always Beat the Intelligent. And we're just on part 1, you guys, the battle of the head. So I want to just address this though, because I want you to expound on this a little bit. The quality of your lens will determine the quality of your life. And you were just speaking about driving and not even knowing where you're going, but we know the eyes are the window of the soul. So tell us a little bit about, what you see, your lens, how you see things. I'm assuming that that's what you're speaking through. So give us a little bit of feedback about the quality of your lens will just determine the quality of your life.
Right. So we have what we call confirmation bias. So whatever our lens perceives in life, we're going to produce according to that. I'm thinking about Sam Walton when he was down in Benton, Arkansas, and he started him a 5 and dime store. He got a loan for $25,000 from his father-in-law. He went to every store in the neighborhood, and here these people are all running retail stores. They've got the same environment, same opportunity, same everything. Many of them went out of business, and he built the biggest retailer in the history of the world. You take, the McDonald's brothers, who were struggling quite a bit with their little restaurant. They tried to franchise it, started 10, 7 of them failed, and 3 of them changed the name from McDonald's to something else. And Ray Kroc comes along with a different lens, and he builds the largest fast food and really created the franchise industry, essentially. And so it's like, what is so different about these people? I mean, they're not more gifted. They're not more blessed. They're not more. There's something about the way they see the world that changes things. And when you accept, if your lens is not giving you the results you want, and you accept it, you're essentially creating a prison of your own making. You're establishing that this is the limits that you like your limits, you like your chains, you like your boundaries. And
So I'm
what
gonna
we try to
stop
do,
you there. I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
stop you there. You like your limits, you like your boundaries. I don't know that that's necessarily anybody's story in their mind, but we do allow what we see to stop us. So I'm gonna speak to asking you about transparency. How long before you said, um, you launched your business, experienced leadership, you've achieved so much, you know what I mean, in terms of your goals. But when did you actually start seeing the fruit of your lens of what you saw before you were too stupid to fail?
Well, and like I said, I mean, some will still question whether I'm stupid enough, because uh, you know, at the same time, yeah, I relatively to people getting started out in this industry, yeah, we run a successful business, but I know there are people that do 100 times, uh, Boston Consulting Group, you know, does billions of dollars a year in consulting. McKinsey does. I mean, you look at BDO. I mean, there's other. Listen, and my limitation is still based upon my current lens, and so I'm actively in a role of constantly challenging the lens that I have in
Yeah.
order to drive towards the fullness of a potential. And I know a lot of people are not big friends of my friend Jeff Bezos. He's not my friend, but he just donated $100 million in November to people that are dealing with the problem of homelessness. You can't do that if you don't have $100 million to give.
True.
If you want, and so most people are afraid to realize the full potential of themselves, of their organization, of the people that they work with. But when you limit yourself, unfortunately, there are millions and millions and millions of dollars that could be going towards good. That as I think my grandfather used to say all the time. He used to quote. He says that evil prevails because good people do nothing. I mean, it's like, so if good people would activate the highest levels of their potential, how much more could happen in the world?
Well, that brings me to my next point. Yes, good people, if we would activate, and we could do a lot of good in the world, and we can move and we can motivate, but those distractions in life come. And so, and they come to knock us off our square. I mean, to be very honest with you, I was thinking about this. A lot of people know we suffered tragic loss in our family, and it was a big hurdle, but it was also a big distraction because I didn't want to do anything at all
Mm-hmm.
ever again. I wanted to quit. Just what's
Mm-hmm.
the point? And those distractions sometimes are not bad distractions. Sometimes they're good distractions. But when we're distracted, you said it is hard to see things clearly. We can't see things clearly, and we don't take ownership of our future. We become enslaved to our past. And your past could be 60 seconds ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? It doesn't just have to be 10 years ago. So I want you to really just talk about, that wasted thinking that we can't control, and then those distractions that show up that sometimes we don't even know how to persevere past that.
Yeah. Well, and understanding this, I mean, it is, and there's a great resource by a mentor of mine. He wrote a book called Natural Brilliance, and he talks about these 4 different quadrants that we often live in. And you take people, I talked about uptime and downtime already. Most people live over 90% of their life in downtime, completely just almost automatons, running automatic programming, and they're very rarely tapping into thinking. And lifting their head and actually to engage with life, to live in this present moment. And so most of us are either fretting over the future, regretting the past, but we're between these things, and those things are distractions. So to live in the present moment, to be awake in this present moment, to say, what do I need to be doing right now? That's uncomfortable. That makes many of us, you think about Adam and Eve in the garden, it makes many of us feel naked. We feel vulnerable by living in this present moment. And so what we're doing, we're often distracting ourselves by fretting over the past. So this natural brilliance model basically says that most people, there are 4 different quadrants we live in, and the current quadrant that most people live in, the comfort zone, is basically where people just feel comfortable. They just want to be where they are. But then there's kind of the negative, frustrated over the past zone. And so thinking about the past. And then there's the future zone where we're concerned, or the negative future zone. But the positive optimistic zone, that positive future where we stay positive, where we focus our mind and our energy about what's possible, that takes energy, that burns calories. And for most of us, that's exhausting. And we don't have a support network that encourages, fires us up, and gets us focused on that. And because so little of our lives is lived in that optimistic future, that present positive or future positive zone, we can't dream, we can't imagine, we can't create a future. If those people that are faith-based realize that, Genesis 1:26 talks about we're created in the image of God, and God created us to be like him.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't talking about fingers, hands, and toes. What is the likeness of God? What does the image of God really mean? And I talked a lot about that on the chapter on recreate. To be in his image means the ability to create. So he created, and we're made in his image. Therefore, he gives us the ability to create things that don't quite exist yet. And so the cell phone came along because we created something as a need. How we design and structure electricity, how we deal with transportation, everything that you see around you is because our God likeness is our ability to create. But you have to tap into that future positive place in order to really create space in your life to dream. And most of us, we abandon our dreams because they become too difficult to maintain, because we don't have a supportive enough environment that keeps us moving in that direction. So,
woo, that was good, you guys. Well, that's why you need to get this book, Too Stupid to Fail, you guys, because it's newly released. It's on Amazon. And we're going to go ahead. If you reach out to us, we're going to give 2 books away today. Neesha's Network, go to Messenger and reach out to me. And we will give away 2 books, Too Stupid to Fail. We gave away some things last week. We want to be able to give and invest into others. But one of the things I want to say is that how will you begin to grab a hold of this knowledge? Not only by purchasing the book, but really taking the time to invest in yourself, getting a coach, especially people who are, whether you're entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, multi-billion-dollar companies, it doesn't matter. Everyone needs a coach. And I want you to address that, because you wrote, we don't have enough time to go into, I wanted to talk about the we choose, but we don't have enough time for that. But I want people to choose to show up, those people in business and those people who are stuck in their business and need to rebrand or say, you know what, my company only makes 20 grand a month. I needed to make 100 grand a month. You need to sign up for this virtual blueprint. Well, not virtual. If you're in Minnesota, you can go in person. I think it's still time. Stephen, talk about the soar. That to me, we make a choice on whether we're going to soar or not. We can stay on the ground, or we can make a choice to get up to say, I think I need some encouragement. I think I need a coach. I think I need to design something different for my brand, for my company. Tell us a little bit about that, and talk about the event on this coming Friday.
Yeah, well, and here's the fun part. We never try to push people to make a decision to move forward if they are truly addicted to their past or their present results. If you're addicted to your present results, if you're happy or not happy, if you learn to become happy. Yeah, I don't think they become happy.
Now, I take that back. Some people are comfortable right where they are.
Right. But I would call that I would call that content. I don't think happiness can be found when we're underutilizing our potential. I think that the deep satisfactions of life are really in a place where we're really beginning to exercise what we're truly capable of. I think there's many people that there's a lot of deathbed literature that's out there where many people say their one regret is that they knew they had so much more to give, and they cared more about what other people thought, and they were really trapped in trappings that weren't really real. And so I would say that, but for most of us, I think there's a little voice inside of us that's calling us out for higher, to live at another level, to calling us out for more. And so what it really means to soar is really being in that place where you're so where there's enough tension in your life, enough chaos, enough stress in your life that gets you out of bed in the morning. There's a problem that you believe that you are called and that you should be solving. And that's enough pressure and stress to get you up out of the bed in the morning and says, there's a problem out there that I'm called to solve. But not so much stress that it weighs you down. And
Right.
so what's that right place to be? I mean, people have heart attacks and coronaries just overstressed about things, so we don't want you to be overstressed, but there's a healthy place of stress. Stress is a really good thing. They call it eustress. It's good stress. It gets you out of the bed. But how do you organize it in a way? Very few people can do it on their own. I've never met anybody that can do that well on their own. You need a voice outside of your head. And that's why we believe that every business should have a coach. We believe every person should have a coach. Now, we don't deal with as much on the personal side. We work with businesses, but I think people should be reaching out to personal coaches as well, to have that clarity, so that when you're making decisions, you can. I tell my kids this all the time. I want you to start seeing the future. And if you just follow the activity and start to consider, if you take these 3 or 4 steps, the consequences of those decisions. But most of us don't get that privilege. We run out and the consequences are right upon us. And so what it takes is, by actually working with someone that coactively coaches you to think through these things with you, you can actually start to see the future. And for most of our companies that we work with, I mean, we see this all the time. I was talking with a gentleman this morning. He started out running just by himself, contracting with a couple people, running a $350,000 business, and now they did $4.3 million this year. So they've done 10x in less than 5 years. And the reason they've been able to do that is because he doesn't get stuck in his head, trapped in analysis paralysis. He's been able to build. Now they serve 35 different employees with families that they're taking care of in the community. All of those things matter because he's gone through an intentional process of committing himself to constantly being in a place where he gets to see, not from inside of his head, but from outside of his head. I love the quote that vision, sight is seeing what's in front of your eyes, but vision is seeing what's behind them. And so what does it mean to really see what's behind those eyes? Is pulling it out and being able to evaluate it. And before you make all the decisions, be able to be equipped to move that forward.
That's powerful. So this Friday, business owners, is it too late for people to sign up?
No, it's not too late. If they're in person in Minneapolis, or you want to fly to Minneapolis, feel free. We can do that. I know that we can provide the link for that event. Most people, if you're national or international, is probably going to have to jump on virtually. But it's really just a day every 90 days that we set aside for business leaders to think into what needs to happen in order to move them forward. We live by a 90-day calendar. I believe I think my father was trying to tell me, he was like, yeah, you can see the curvature of the earth, because he was in the Navy. He says you can only see out so many miles directly straight, and then the curvature of the earth causes you not to be able to see any further. Well, the human brain can only see about 90 days into the future. Practically, tactically, we can vision out 100 years, but we can only see about 90 days into the future. We can make a tactical plan. So every 90 days, we have a blueprint to kind of help reset people for their business, to kind of get ready to kind of what they need to execute over the next 90 days. And so absolutely, we would love to invite people to participate in that for sure.
Okay. Well, people can get in touch with you how?
Our website is experienceleadership.com. Feel free to reach out. We got some ways. Obviously, my email is displayed right there. You can reach out to me, and I'll make sure the
appropriate people
will get it.
Right. Speak honestly,
Part of being part of a business is knowing your strengths, and me responding to emails has not been a strength of mine. So I forward it on to the appropriate parties, and we connect with you. So.
All right, you guys, it's been an amazing interview. Just this last, actually little under 40 minutes with my brother, Dr. Stephen Crawford. Too Stupid to Fail, available on Amazon. Why the Resilient Will Always Beat the Intelligent, you guys. Purchase this book, not just for yourself, but give it to your young people. It's a great read. We didn't even cover half of the things that stood out to me in the book, but I do want to say that it is an amazing book that you guys can actually, it will light your fire, basically. It will make you rethink some things. It'll give you the drive to be able to want to choose to do some things different and to really be all God has created us to be, right? In his image and in his likeness, like he just stated. Are there any last minute words you want to leave everybody, Stephen?
Yeah, we do have a workbook coming out, and if and probably it'll be on Amazon probably within a week or so. If you buy the workbook you know, and the book's on audio as well. So you can, there's so many different, if you buy the workbook or the audio book and you're able to send us a receipt. If you have not bought the ebook yet, we'll send you a free copy of the ebook. So that's one of the gifts we're going to give to people who buy the workbook or the audio book.
The only missing link with the audio book was your voice, but that's okay.
No, right. The audio book, I did not have the bandwidth or the time.
Well, we're going to make the time because it would be great to hear it in your voice. That's the truth. But it's really been really good. Thank you so much. Workbook is coming soon, you guys. Log on to experienceleadership.com and go ahead and check out and see all the amazing things, especially business owners that want to take your business to the next level. It will behoove you. It does not matter where you are. All over the world, this is an international opportunity for you to be able to soar with your business in 2022. Okay? Thank you so much, Stephen. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you and value all you bring in the earth. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
Purchase your book. Hold on, Stephen.